This afternoon, the Iraqi government arrested 4 of its own security officers in connection with a devastating wave of car bombs that has killed 65 and wounded more than 200 civilians in Baghdad on Thursday. Prime Minister al-Maliki disclosed Saturday he did not say whether the 4 worked for the Ministry of the Interior, the Defense Department, or another part of the government. We captured 4 security officers related to the last set of bombings, Maliki told a conference of tribal leaders from mostly Sunni province, where Sunni politicians are seeking to set up a semi-independent region. Even with such sparse details, al-Maliki's disclosure reinforced a conviction long held by many Iraqis that much of the violence against innocent civilians, as well as security officers here, is directed by senior political government figures using security guards working for the Iraqi executive branch or members of parliament. O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel. I was at the post office the other day. My post office has a strange set of rules about 2 lines, one for packages going out and the other line for stamps and other issues. Sometimes you get in the right line, and when you get to the front of the line, you're told that they're not using the 2-line system that day, and you've got to go back over to the single line. Other days, you can be in the single line and get to the front and be told, oh, we're doing the double line today, so if you want to mail that package for the book that you sold for church, you've got to go back in the other line and wait your turn. So we sold the book on Thursday, and so on Friday, I went to the post office to mail this book. And there were 2 women standing on the package line, chatting with each other, looking like they were filling out the form still to be able to mail their package. So I stepped to the front of the line, thinking that I would just be polite and not bother them. One of them turned to me and said, "Oh, did he just not go to the front of the line in front of us?" And I said, "I'm so sorry, I thought you were finishing your packages. Of course you can go to the front of the line. You were here first." "Oh, a bit of Christmas spirit," said she. I said, "No, just a bit of humanity." O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel. Violence erupted at shoe stores across the country today as people tried to purchase Nike's new retro Air Jordan sneakers, which were released just in time for Christmas. Thousands lined up at stores across the country to shell out $180 for the black and white Jordans, named for Michael Jordan, who claimed the Chicago Bulls to 6 NBA championships in the 1990s. They went on sale at midnight on Thursday. East of San Francisco in Richmond, California, the Air Jordan sale was canceled after a gun went off outside the mall early Friday morning, and the 24-year-old gunman was arrested. Richmond police said this may have been an accidental discharge of the gun. Between 1,500 and 1,000 people who were waiting in line to buy the new Jordans there were left disappointed. In Seattle, police used pepper spray to break up fights between customers. Quote, "Police showed up, something went into the side door and pushed through the front door and lost our place in the line. And we're at the back of the line," one shopper said. "We were in the front of the line, then we got bombarded in, and now we don't have any," said another shopper who came out of the store empty-handed. In Atlanta, at least 4 people were arrested in a mob scene at a suburban mall, according to the Associated Press. 20 police cars responded, and the crowd broke down the door to enter the mall before it opened. Police had to smash the windows of a car to get 2 toddlers out after a woman had left them there while she went to buy the shoes. She was taken into custody when she returned, according to the Associated Press. Florida police used pepper spray on unruly shoe seekers, and fights were reported in Kentucky. Glass was shattered at stores in North Carolina. People started getting restless, so they cracked open the doors, and the next thing you knew, people started getting trampled and bum rushed. The doors fell on some girls' heads, and it was horrible. It was real bad, said a man in Charlotte, North Carolina. And in case you only think that happened in other places, the sale at the Westfields Mall in Annapolis was canceled out of fear of riots. O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel. Chuck and I went to a lovely dinner party last evening. It was a baby shower filled with gay men and other family friends and family members for our friend Rand. His partner, Ron and Rand, were here for Dennis's memorial service at the end of October. And I had married Ron's daughter, Christy, to Justin Abate in Albuquerque a couple years ago. And they were home for Christmas, and they're pregnant. And they were having a baby shower to celebrate this new child coming into the earth. And it was on Friday evening, the eve of Christmas Eve. Early in the evening, Rand began to not feel well and went upstairs to his room to lay down. Now there were 70, 80, 90 people in the house having a great time, both downstairs and in the kitchen living room. And Rand was upstairs not feeling well. Finally, he called Ron's ex-wife up, who is a nurse. Actually, they probably didn't call. She probably just went, because that's Connie. And determined that Rand's headache was not just a run-of-the-mill headache, and that he needed to go to the hospital. And so the EMS people came and took Rand to the hospital. We were all standing in shocked disbelief that one of our hosts was being taken off in an ambulance with headaches. At 11:20, we were gathered in the kitchen, about probably 30, 35 of us still there, and Christy, the daughter who's pregnant, called us all together in a big circle and said, Rand's being telelifted, being medevaced to Washington Hospital Center. He has an intracranial bleed, and they have to probably do surgery right away. And so several of the people turned to me and said, would you pray? And I said, of course I would pray. And I invited people to take hands in that room of 30 to 40 friends. And I was about to ask people to breathe together and to offer a spirit of healing upon Rand and upon his doctors if he was going to undergo surgery. And Connie, Ron's ex-wife, burst into prayer. I didn't know that she knew any prayers, but I was thankful. And I listened intently, and I felt the heartbeat of the 2 people on either side of me as we clasped hands, sending healing energy to our friend and beloved Rand, who was on his way possibly to surgery. The party dissolved shortly thereafter because nobody quite knew how to party after Rand was facing such a life and death struggle. This morning we found out that he didn't have to have through the skull surgery, but they did a procedure up through his groin, and were able to stop the bleeding through a different kind of medical procedure. And I saw him this afternoon at 4:10, a very frightened 51-year-old man who never would have thought that such a thing would be happening to him while he was trying to celebrate his daughter's soon-to-be child. O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel. And so we come to this night. We come to this night in the midst of a world which is so wrought with pain and hurt and war and separation and darkness and fighting over stupid things like $180 pairs of shoes. We live in a world in which Advent has been marred consistently by people pepper spraying and fighting over things at Walmart and at other bargain basement opportunities. But yet, this story, the story we heard from Luke, the promises we hear from Isaiah, reminds us that God is indeed with us. And somehow in that story of that baby born so long ago, you know, the details of that story are really irrelevant. We need not literalize that story, because no matter how Jesus was born, we know that he was born. And in those times, if you knew that a person had been great, if a person had done tremendous things in their lifetime, then the people who wrote about their lives created wonderful stories about their origins. You can go back and read many stories of great men and women of that time who have, what are you doing back here? Who have fantastic stories told about their birth. We know nothing about Jesus' birth, other than that it occurred. But yet, the imagination of Luke to create such a magnificent story, placing Mary and Joseph and Jesus in the line of David, taking him from one rural city of Nazareth to another rural city of Bethlehem to be born. It places Jesus right where the Hebrew scriptures said the Mashiach, the Messiah, would come. But even if there is no factual information in that story, I bet with John Wesley you can say that your heart is strangely warmed when you hear that story. If you are paying attention at all to the promise of God with us, your heart must be strangely warmed when you hear that story. When you hear the words of Maya Angelou speaking of Christmas peace, your heart must be strangely warmed and filled, because we so long for someone to show us the way to love and hope and joy and peace, those 4 candles that we have been lighting through Advent. Deep, deep, deep within us, we each long to hear that message. We sing, O come, Emmanuel. Come, O come, God with us. And so, my sisters and brothers, tonight, grab onto that warming of your heart as you hear that story. Tell those around you who push and shove every day, who don't understand, offer them a bit of humanity spirit, or Christmas spirit, or whatever spirit of love and peace and joy and hope you can muster. If we will embrace the story of Jesus, of what he did in his ministry, that made it so important that the writers of Matthew and Luke create a story about his birth, if you pay attention to who he is and understand his importance, then we can turn the world upside down, just as he intended, just as he tried, just as he gave his life to stand up for exactly those 4 principles. It's what the Christmas story empowers us to do, what the Christmas story implores us to do. It's not just get caught up in the mystery and the joy of giving and of celebrating, but really changing our lives. Christmas is a time to remember who we are, to remember that we are not only here to serve a God, but we are here to manifest God's presence in this world, in everything that we do. From trying to be nice to the grumpy lady at the post office, to trying to help overcome the materialism and consumerism of our time, to find ways to work for peace in a world that just seems insanely committed to war and destruction. That's all Jesus asks of us this night. He asks that we recommit ourselves to the Jesus Christ way in this world. A world based on peace, on love, on hope, and on joy. I wish you a Merry Christmas this night. I pray that each of you have all the blessings of knowing that God's presence within you and around you in this community and in the world. It's an awesome task that this little baby Jesus asks us to undertake. It is an awesome task, but it is the task that draws you here to hear the story, to live in community, and to know that there is another way, another path for this world to take. And together with all who are united by that strange warming of the heart at hearing the story, we can do it. For God is indeed with us, in us, with us, beside us. O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive.